Is it a bird? Is it a plane? No, it's something even more special. It's the Yo Master. My brother Tom could not believe his eyes. I want to be a yo-yo man, he cried. Make me a yo-yo man. But the yo-yo master did not answer. He just kept on yoing.
Penny's Big Breakaway has gotten one of the most mixed reactions I ever seen out of a game. And when I say mixed, I don't mean that some people like it and some people don't. No, that's some basic stuff. Depending on who you ask, Penny is either one of the greatest 3D platformers ever made, or one of the most disappointing titles in the generation. How can this be? How can a game have universal praise upon reveal but has such split response once released? Well, that's what I wanted to investigate, but I'm definitely leaning towards the this game is godlike. Not lying, I was pretty close to abandoning the game at first. So after seeing the light of why this game is so great, I want to make other people see it too, while also getting some of my problems out. That way, the dev team can improve these issues in the future. So first, let's set the stage. For a game to be disappointing, it needed to be exciting at first, and the way Penny went about it was with its incredible presentation and the studio behind the project. Few people can deny that this game is beautiful and full of charm. The levels are all so colorful and so alive, with multiple NPCs with funny dialogue at every corner. The design of every character is fantastic, and the main protagonist herself, Penny and her magical JoJo, are both so full of energy and expression. Just can't help but love them. Not to mention the outstanding soundtrack thanks to some familiar faces like Christian Whitehead and T. Lopes, mixed with some newer ones like Shin Diablo and Hunter Bridge. God, I hope I didn't follow those names. And those familiar faces? Well, that's the second reason why this game got so much hype going into it. The studio, even in sound, is mostly composed from the dev team of Sonic Mania, an excellent classic Sonic game that understood what made those originals so great while expanding on its own unique ways. Its engine being such a perfect recreation of the classic physics that is still used to this day in games like Sonic Origins, Superstars, and even in this very title. So now it's obvious why everyone's looking forward to this game. A beautiful 3D platformer made by the people who know exactly what they're doing when it comes to momentum-based platformers. In the eyes of many, Penny's Big Breakaway was a true transition of 2D Sonic into 3D. No more false potential, no more steps in the right direction. Even in Star was locked in to show everyone how it's done. So when the game came out...
Explain? Game sucks. Never mind, I got captured.
What the f do I do? With the backstory out of the way, we can talk about the main point. Penny's Big Breakaway controls, physics, and level design. In this video, I'll go over what makes this aspect so incredible, how it fumbles along the way, and how you can master the power of the JoJo to impress your audience and improve your experience. Oh god, I'm about to get so many comments about how I pronounce JoJo. Let's get something clear out of the way at first. Penny's Big Breakaway is a very unique 3D platformer. It takes some inspiration here and there from others in the genre, both 2D and 3D, but overall, don't go expecting this to be a Mario game, a Sonic game, or a Kirby game. With that said, if you have to do any comparisons, I would describe the game as a mix of Mario 3D World, Forgotten Land like linear type platforming, an emphasis on momentum platforming like something you would see in a Sonic game, and a Tony Hawk type combo system. Weird description, yes, I know. But with that set in stone, we can talk about those controversial controls. Penny herself can only walk, jump, and wall jump. Nothing more. To be honest, most of the problems this game has are because of her. I mean, she can't even do cool JoJo tricks. Is she stupid? Penny is slow, and most of the jank you might experience is because of her weird collision with slopes. Upon touching a slope, or just about anything really, Penny will start a tumble state where she will not be able to do anything before she stops. This also means Penny herself cannot gain any momentum, although she can slightly maintain it by quickly jumping. These rules might not seem bad at first, sounds like pretty good game design to me, but think of it this way. Penny is stuck in a momentum-based platformer where she cannot get any momentum. The only way she can do that is by using her JoJo to roll around. We will get to why that can cause issues later, but this means most of the level design goes strictly against her. Most new players won't be wheeling all over the place and will rather take their time exploring and platforming. Now, to be fair, even if you don't get the hang of rolling, there are other moves the level design will take advantage of, so let's get to join. This game has two different control styles, Pro and Basic. I would heavily recommend to stick into Pro. as it only gives you more options. You can still play it like any other platformer using the face buttons. The game and the marketing want you to go for this twin stick control setup, the left stick to move and the right stick to point your JoJo in any direction, but I'll be honest and say that there's almost no advantage to using the right stick. It can be useful to hit specific targets or spin, but 99% of the time I use the face buttons as it feels way more responsive. No, the real advantage of Pro is using the triggers for rolling. That way you can put all your efforts into the main two buttons and be ready to roll at any time with ease. The only downside to the Pro layout is that you won't be able to use the camera with the right stick and will have to use the D-pad instead. I've seen a couple people complain about this decision, but in my experience, unless I want to backtrack, the camera is always leading me into the correct place, and moving the camera myself barely affects anything. Once you find the controls that you prefer, we can start to discuss the other moves. For simplicity's sake, I will call them the three main actions: attack, jump, and roll. By simply attacking, Penny will throw her JoJo out. This can be done in any direction and is mainly used to hit and interact with objects. There is a slight humming to reach said objects, but I wouldn't count on it. Sometimes the JoJo will simply not hit what you want to hit. Something else you need to be careful of is spamming or holding the attack button, as that will activate the other two mobility options. It's worth noting that unlike with every other move, you can do this basic attack multiple times in the air, so if you just miss your target and have no other moves left, there's still a chance to recover. After jumping once again in the air, you can pull off an around the world. You would think this is a double jump and it can be used for that purpose, but in reality its main purpose is to get a grip of your momentum for a safer landing, while also being a great combo extender. While it gives you some additional height, its main platforming tool is to extend your reach and access the situation more clearly. Combining this with rolling is great as you can easily change directions in tight platforms. By the end of my playthrough, I almost never had to walk thanks to this trick. It's also good for interacting with the aerial targets as it gives you a brief moment to delay your fall and grab onto a pole or something. Do keep in mind its effect of killing your momentum. When you want to hit a slug with a roll or want to build up speed for a large swing, don't use it. And again, I can't help but express that this is not a double jump. Almost everyone new to the game, including myself, uses this move as if it was one, which can lead to a ton of frustration. If you want a more conventional double jump, well, skill issue because double jumps are for games that have no confidence in movement, but, Penny being a banger game that it is, it does have its own take on that idea with the string swing.
This is the greatest game of all.
By holding the attack button in the air, Penny will swing off her JoJo. By letting go of the button at any time, Penny will be launched away. This move is by far the game's most complex and advanced move. If you just walk normally and let go at the peak of the swing, it will work as a sort of a double jump, making you cross large gaps. But what makes it truly special is how it's completely determined by the physics of the game. Again, you can let go at any moment, and any speed that you had going into the swing will be carried over. This allows you to do incredible jumps or to launch you forward at high speeds that you can only take advantage of with a roll. The double-edged sword here is that the swing can really mess you up if you time it wrong. Due to being affected by your speed, it means the time won't be consistent anytime, and if you're fast enough, Penny will do a full swing of the JoJo, leading to even more angles that can mess you up. Or you can also go fast enough to do the full swing but not enough to end it, so Penny touches the JoJo and falls to her doom. I can't really give you any advice to avoid these scenarios other than to be careful of your speed, and if you think you're going too fast, maybe hold the button for a bit longer to lose some of that momentum for easier jumps. But also don't hold it for too long or else you won't have enough speed to fling you around. We will go over how to gain speed and how this move combines with the rest of the moveset on the advanced section. After that, there's the pass dash. By pressing the attack button twice either in the air or on the ground, Penny will prepare her to the JoJo with great speed. A great tool for gaining speed, crossing big gaps and maintaining the flow going. The move is pretty straightforward here, but it also has its jankiness in the process. Try not to spam the button too much as sometimes you will register a third press and the JoJo throw will completely kill your speed. Be also where you're pressing the double tap too fast as sometimes it won't even activate. There's also the fact that the aerial and grounded version have different properties but are still counted as the same move. More on that in the next section. We'll say that if you don't really vibe with all the momentum slope shenanigans, the dash is the best tool you have to keep the pace going while also allowing you to take your time on the trickier platforming sections. And finally, we have the infamous radial ride. Or roll, or wheelie, depending on how much I want to gaslight myself that day. This move is a real make or break it for most people, and I can see why. Don't expect it to be a Sonic Adventure spin dash because it is not. This roll is heavy. It's like you are constantly in a state of drifting in a racing game. Your best bet is to make really small adjustments if you want to move to a specific direction or hard commit on that direction. Otherwise, you better just trust the levels and I know when to quit. It's also surprisingly slow on its own. Unlike a Sonic Spin Dash, it doesn't give you that initial burst of speed for that instant gratification. There is this pillar move that activates when you use a roll while standing still, but that's still pretty slow. So how do you use this thing? Well, like I said in the Around the World section, it can become a replacement to regular walking. Thanks to its low individual speed, it's really not that bad to drop it anytime you can, mainly used for keeping a combo going. But its main use, and the reason why I stopped caring so much about how heavy it was, is because of the level design. The game is full of pipes, inclines, slopes, water, lava, and long stretches of ground without platforms. In every single one of those scenarios, rolling is your best option. The roll is the key to gaining momentum, letting you reach great speeds. My tip is to try to drop from great heights into those corners. Unlike with something like Sonic, the roll is not that good at gaining momentum over time, and landing on solid ground is very slow. It's also really worth noting that landing with a roll technically counts as touching the ground, which means it regenerates all your movement options. Going from doing insane jumps and dashing all over the place into a roll just to repeat the cycle again is the big appeal of Penny's movement and controls. I still have some other issues with the moveset, as we will get to later for the more obscure parts in a second. But even from a glance, no wonder some people didn't vibe with this game. The double jump is not a double jump, the swing heavily depends on physics, and the roll is unlike what you would come to expect to. But once you get the overall idea of what every move's purpose is and how it beautifully links into each other, you unlock a whole new game. But there's still more to learn. There's some secret moves and different ways to combine your moveset. Want to get even more out of the game? Or maybe you want to know all the jank that is there to try avoiding your runs? Well, that's what the next section is for. There's 2 secret moves the game doesn't tell you about. Well, technically 3, but we already talked about the peel-out. The Sleep Bounce and Up and Over. Sleep Bounce is performed when Penny manages to land in front of her JoJo. This can technically be used on the ground as well, but it's often used against walls as that guarantees a bounce. Well, I wouldn't say guarantees. I've seen it happen without any walls before, it just requires some weird physics abuse that's hard to get to consistently. Even the whole tech can be a little janky, as most of the time the JoJo will just go through the wall, ruining the combo and your flow. Up and Over is even more complicated as it works as some sort of ledge grab that bounces you forward afterwards. It's activated by doing a string swing where the JoJo lands above the platform but Penny swings from below it, touching the wall to climb it. From the description alone, you can tell just how obscure and situational this move is. And most of the time Penny will just do a sleep bounce instead, which is whatever, but what is even more likely is that you won't do either, as these 2 moves only activate if you have your string swing available. So 90% of the time you won't even have the option to use it. Why? Something like Mario Odyssey lets you grab a ledge whenever you want it. It feels so good to barely grab the ledge after a big jump, something I don't get to feel often in this game, which will really benefit how slippery Penny can get with all the rolling and momentum. And also, for both moves, please make it so you don't need string swing. That's like the move in this game, so it basically locks those 2 great options out of the play. Because when they work, they are pretty fun and a great way to keep the pace going. But now it's time to talk about the weird junk of this game, so let's get something straight. Penny and the Cosmic String are 2 different characters, and the way the game handles priority between the 2 can be very silly. The simplest example is by how it handles damage. If the JoJo hits something that deals damage like fire or electricity, it will damage both. But it's even more interesting scenario is how it handles the roll. In Sonic, you could easily jump into the slope and get launched. Now if you do that by holding down, you will go even faster. In Penny, the same thing happens when using the roll. You get a massive speed boost that can launch really high. But if you don't, yeah, that doesn't feel good. But why won't you just hold the roll button? Ah, that's where that weird priority system comes into play. When activating a wheelie, the Cosmic String takes priority over Penny. If the JoJo hits a slope, then Penny will be teleported to it and they will both have momentum fun. But if the JoJo fails to touch any surface in a very short time frame that it has, then Penny will hit the ground instead, ruining all the speed. This also frequently happens on tiny platforms where the JoJo won't hit the platform while Penny will, ruining a combo. That's not the last of the roll jank, as if you're trying to roll over water, there's a chance the JoJo will just go past the water and kill you. Actually, water and lava are really deadly, as even if a pixel of Penny's body touches the water, she will die. This often happens in the second boss if you're not careful, which is where a lot of people get frustrated. And speaking of stuff killing you just for fun, in Penny's Breakaway, walls are a suggestion and the floor is an illusion. I swear to you, you will clip out of bounds whenever the game feels like it. No fancy explanation here, it just happens. At most I can give you the advice of don't mess around walls that much. The level design is pretty wild to consider, so unless you're really f***ing around, you shouldn't experience many glitches. And then again, despite how high quality this game is, it's still an indie game with a pretty in-depth momentum system. It was bound to have some junk here and there, so let's stop bitching around and let's get to the tips and make this game so fun to play. We already went over how the roll works, but it's still worth reminding that at almost every instance you can, try to roll instead of walking. But honestly, you won't be rolling for many stretches, and your best movement options is an aerial pass dash into a string swing. A grounded dash will not carry the momentum. Only use the grounded dash if you want to transition to a roll right away, as that is one of the fastest ways to get going from a standstill. As for the aerial version, this gives you an insane amount of momentum, but there's still some stuff to look out for. For one, don't do the swing immediately. The way you pick up that huge speed is by letting Penny fall for a bit before the swing. This will allow you to make some huge jumps and skip entire platforming sections. But that's not all, as it can also turn that downward momentum into forward momentum. Just let's go the swing quickly after initiating and Penny will be launching a more straightforward angle. Combine that with a roll and you have the fastest grounded movement option. As mentioned in the previous section, the string swing fully depends on the physics, meaning that the timing will vary every time, but you can still get a feel of what you want, and remember that there's so many angles possible. You can use that speed to reach high places or try a combination of both with a diagonal angle. The risk versus reward aspect comes from how long you will let Penny fall before the swing. Take too long and you risk falling off the stage, or not being able to control that speed. Take too little and you won't have much speed for anything. It's a great system that only gets more fun the more you experiment with it. As for tips when landing, around the world is a great way to extend your reach and delay your fall, but it's not your only option, as a simple yo-yo throw meter also does just that. Around the world is almost always better in any situation, so you can more easily transition into a roll, and also it just feels very good to do so, but you always have that second option when needed. But like I mentioned like 70 times already, you always want to end in a roll, as that will keep the combo going. And speaking of combo, I think it's time we got to explain that little piece of the puzzle. I've seen people dismissive of the game get used to the controls, but the combo system is something that the great majority of people really don't understand, as it's a little misleading on what it wants you to do and how it goes about rewarding you, so I'll try my best to explain it. By performing various actions one after another without stopping, you build up a combo. After activating one, you can see all the information you need on the right side of your screen. We have 3 different elements here: the combo counter, the multiplier, and the action list. I made those terms up, by the way. The combo counter is bullshit. It doesn't mean anything, and most is an indication of how long a combo is going for or if it's alive, but the number itself is meaningless. Aside from getting down 100 combo achievement, the number itself doesn't determine anything about the total points gained, and even when it counts as a combo, it's sketchy. A normal yo-yo throw, for example, counts for the counter, but it doesn't give any points. At the same time, it doesn't count for actions that give you points over time, like the radial ride that starts with a point value of 0 and increases as you roll around. That whole thing counts as one move for the counter, so for the most part, we can ignore it. Well, that's actually not completely true, but for that we need to talk about the multiplier. After the combo ends, all the points you collected will be multiplied between by 1 time or by 5, with decimals in between. There's 2 ways to increase the multiplier. The first one is by collecting coins. Every coin collected will increase it by 0.1. The second way is with the combo counter. Every 10 combo you will increase it by 0.5. So yes, technically speaking, the counter is not useless, but it's way easier and faster to up that multiplier with coins, and in the process of doing so you will also increase the combo counter, giving a higher multiplier. The last thing about the combo system is the points themselves. The point system in this game is criticized for not really having any type of penalty for just standing still and doing the same thing over and over again, making it so, if you want to, you can just grind points at the start and then play the rest of the level normally. Well, that's true to an extent. While yes, you could just grind points in one place forever, the game does try to avoid this. Reuse moves will start giving you less and less points. This doesn't really affect your core moveset, as it really doesn't affect it much from going from 50 to 30 for something like an around the world, but for objects and interactions, it takes a huge hit. Just try grinding points in a pole or a launcher. You will see how those points drain really quickly. Plus, there's multiple other ways to gain points even outside combos: hitting objects, defeating enemies, dodging checkpoints, and most importantly, the bonuses at the end of the level. By meeting some sort of criteria, you will be given extra points at the end. These points can be the difference between getting the high score or not, so it's important to have at least some of this in mind while playing. I can't give you the list of all of them, since even I don't know every single one of them or what's the criteria, but some of the most important ones are: like lightning, go fast; perfect busking, get to the top and don't mess up the busking; evasive maneuvers, don't get caught by a single penguin; untouchable, don't lose any bit of health; the big 5-0, get a high of 50 or higher; model denizen, help all 3 dudes; interpret explorer, get 3 big balls; And finally, the big one, flawless performance. Help all 3 dudes and get the 3 balls in one run. So in short, if you want to get a good high score run to get those sweet postcards while also having fun, here's the roundup. Go fast, do everything you can, put some sick tricks in the way, and use that good old momentum to skyrocket your show. I hope with this video I've been able to showcase how fantastic the moment of playing with Breakaway is. While it has its jank, this game is incredible in so many ways. The last time I felt his sense of flow and control over a 2D platformer was with Mario Odyssey almost 7 years ago. I still love other games for its moment like Sonic Frontiers, Hat in Time, Forgotten Land, but Penny goes further than almost any other game I played, and if you're worried missive of the game at first or waiting to play it, do it! I don't think it's a game for everyone, but if you're a fan of 3D platformers, do yourself a solid and give this game a try. Get a hold of those controls and have fun. But hey, that's all from me, and I'll see you on the next drive.